Well, I do now. Thanks, Lyle. Apparently the mic went into its like off mode even though it's plugged in and turned on. Weird. Hopefully you can hear me now. Showing I was confused because it was showing audio but it was from the camera. Can you hear me now? I haven't really done much, so it doesn't matter. There I am. So I was just showing, maybe now that I've got you here, maybe you can tell me if you've seen this before. The resistors here on the power tube sockets. Obviously you got to replace one here. This is the original. I picked up some new old stock Allen Bradleys, and these are the military ones where they have the extra band. But I noticed it doesn't match the vintage one in here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me focus it. The band placement is different. The spacing is different. The color is different. So kind of interesting. I've never seen that before. All of my other new old stock ones match perfectly, but all of the half watt. So interesting, the 1 watt would be so different. These were all Allen Bradley, right? These resistors, the originals, including the 1 watts. Since we're getting so crazy as far as like, stuffing the caps and all that other stuff, I'm curious if that'll bother the owner. Obviously, I would carve off the extra band here. I've done that many times in my Vibrolux series, for example, but I don't know if that would bother him, because even if I took that off, it still wouldn't really be a 1-to-1 match with this one. Not always AB. Interesting. Okay. I guess that is true. You do see a hodgepodge of stuff on occasion. But I don't know much about vintage resistors, so let's see what these measure. If I recall correctly, they measured fine, but let's see. Yeah, the extra band is for the military spec ones. I can't remember what that last band actually means, but yeah, it was a military resistor. $464. Yeah, exactly. Okay. 495. Let's see what my new one measures. 493. Yeah, I always use, if I'm not doing a restoration like this, and I'll talk to the owner and see what he wants to do since it's not a 1-to-1 match. But I use these ones from Tube Depot. These little guys. They're 3 watt. I can't remember what they called them. I probably got it from you, honestly. But these are what I've been using. They don't stand out too bad either. I kind of like the subtle green. I know it's like, for me, aesthetics are probably too important, but yeah, these have worked well for me. I've done these in just about every amp I've done outside of my own, where I kept the carbon comps. And something like this, I mean, I see value in keeping the carbon comps just for the visual side of it, for doing everything else. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to putting these in here though. So I'll let the owner make that call for himself and see what he wants to do with that. But in the meantime, we'll continue on with the Mission stuffed cap. This next two will be interesting. Obviously, you got two caps in there. 3-watt Vishay wire rounds, or yeah. I'm sure I got it from you. You got any interesting amps on the workbench right now, Lyle? Gosh dang it, this is so dumb. Alright, I'm gonna switch this to manual focus. There we go. Cool. Two old JMPs, nice. Still never worked on a Marshall. I've thought about buying one for a long time, but man, everyone I see is just so modded to crap. And locally, at least, they're always just trashed. I don't really want to mess with that, especially on my first. Talking to a guy about a vintage Fender potential deal working out. Review of a Casino. Nice. I have a 330. Obviously the Gibson version of the same guitar. And I adore it. It's such a great guitar. It was my dream guitar forever. And I traded my first Gibson I ever owned for it. And I was ecstatic to do so. All right, what am I doing here? Let's go ahead and do this. Zoom in a little bit. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Okay, so this connection right here would be that ground connection, so we're just going to go ahead and snip that. Just want to make sure because it was coming off to the side there. There we go. So just lifting up the lip of this, we can hopefully just slide out the capacitor. This one's more brittle than those two were. You can see it was bubbling out though. This is definitely bad. There we go. So now to try and preserve this resistor here, we're going to try and just lift it up and out so then we can remove all the solder here and prep it for the new cap. And we'll do the same with these two. Alrighty. That looks good. Now we can focus on stuffing. So let's grab our replacement caps here. So the replacement caps are spray Gatum. And you can see those two will be replacing this. So quite a bit smaller. And so we've got a lot of cardboard to fill with these two guys here. So be something along those lines. We can see they're just swimming in there. So what we need to do is create kind of two pieces of foam on either side that we can poke through, and then we need to join the ground side so that only one wire is going out. So I'm going to focus on doing that. I might grab the helping hands to hold it in place for me. Something along those lines. And then so we'll have just one ground coming out of two, just like this. So we'll go ahead and cut this. Solder these together here. Like so. Zoom in a little bit on that. So now those are connected, joined, if you will. Then we can transition over to making the foam. So just high density foam here. And we'll just need to cut out two bits of it. Now the great thing about this is you can, obviously compress it, so you don't really have to get it the exact shape of the cylinder. It'll automatically just fill in to be the right shape for you. So that's helpful. There's not actually a ton of space. So we'll have to, let's see. Yeah, wow, okay, very little space for the foam. The foam's going to have to be pretty thin. How do I want to do this? It's got to be pretty thin. I wonder if this is too thick. Just to test real quick. All right, so we need to go smaller here. Where's my knife? I'm just worried about the thickness because if you look, the cardboard and the end of it, there's very little room for the foam to be for either end of the leads. So it's got to be probably even thinner than this, which makes it a bit tricky. I just have to cut off some new pieces here. You could probably slice off a couple triangles from the corners. Yeah, I don't really need to because it just compresses so much. So when it compresses, it just automatically fills the space. So I don't really need to worry about that too much. Oh, $20. Wow, thank you, Jim. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, man. Yeah, so I haven't needed to. I might do a little bit on this just because it's so much bigger than the other caps I've stuffed already here and here. But it's more, I'm just more concerned right now about the thickness. Just got to be really thin, and I just don't have a blade that's, maybe I can find another X-Acto knife. Thank you again, Jim. That's really, really kind of you. Blade is just totally dull. Jeez. So we got this little square here. We'll take your input, Jim, and just cut a bit of the triangle off. So that fits well. I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that? Hopefully okay. So that'll definitely work. The question is more if I can fit it on the other side. All right, that might be thin enough actually. Welcome back, Scott. Just already removed the bypass caps here. And now just made the foam insert for this side and just making it on the other side. We got the 2 Sprague. Let's try and zoom in for you a little bit. Try and focus it. So you got the 2 Sprague caps here, and then the leads were combined and soldered together on the ground side. So you'll have just one going to ground, just like you do here. There's only one going to ground, the 2 caps, and then 2 the other side. And so now we're just trying to figure out how to fit this in here with the foam. There's not a ton of space, so the foam spacer's got to be pretty thin, I think. So we'll see here in a sec. This one did have a little bit more chipping up on the edges. This is more fragile than the other ones I worked on, but it should be fine because this will all be rolled over. Welcome, David. All right, so let's go ahead and try that. Think that'll work. I might need to go thicker actually. Let me see if I can fit a thicker one in there. Never done one this size before, so this is all a bit trial and error. Second one will be easier. as is typical. So let's see if we can get away with a slightly thicker. There's just not a ton of room in there because the caps are, their, width is significantly smaller, but once you tie the two leads into one to get one, it just becomes quite a bit longer. So let's just do a quick test here. All right, so let's see if we can just stuff that in slightly. Just all about trying to be even with it so it doesn't look, lumpy or anything. Which is easier said than done. Yeah, see, this might be a hair too thick, so I don't want it bulging out on this side. And to get it to fit, it's like this to crimp over. I don't think it'll crimp over all the way. So I think we're going to have to go with the thinner one. Riveting content, I know. All right. This is the stuff you guys don't see in the edited videos, though, right? All this is normally cut out. Well, while I'm working on this, I've got a couple people watching. I'm curious, what is your main rig? What do you play with? What's your go-to amp out of your collection? Or do you not use an amp? Maybe you got a modeling system. Well, the owner's Scott. The owner's watching. Slight added pressure, the owner watching you work on it. It's like the whole like, I'm not doing this, but like, the car mechanic whole thing, the trope where it's like, oh, well, if you want to watch, you got to pay, pay more kind of thing. Except for he doesn't have to pay more. He gets to watch me do it in real time. So don't mess up, right? Yeah, 61 Vibrolux. That's a pretty incredible amplifier. I'm really torn on this Bandmaster. I know I've mentioned it like 5 times, but I'm really torn on it if I want to move forward with trying to do a deal or not. The price is too high, but it is a very cool amp. All right, that should be good. Scott, if you don't mind me asking, what did you roughly pay for it? You don't have to tell me the exact amount, but what does something like that go for? I really don't know the brown face market at all. Bad cats are great. Which one's the Lynx? $35. Is that pretty typical? I mean, that's what people ask for a blackface Fiberlux reverb, so, you know, I guess that makes sense. And I would say that that amp is worth every bit of that much money. Would I pay that much? Personally, no. But, cheapskate. Gosh, this is being quite finicky here. Just need to bend it over. There we go. No one's going to see any of this or care, but I just can't not do it, to be honest. So the Magnetone for a little less than that. Yeah, those are very, very pricey amps. Huh? Those go for a lot. It's always funny to me when the modern amp goes for more than the vintage version. But I know they sound great. So I'm just getting it pre-crimped with my hands here, and then we'll bring in the tool. I'm just trying to minimize any lifting of the covering on the cardboard. It's just so fragile, obviously from 1961, so it's doesn't like to be disturbed, but we'll do our best here. Bad Cat Lynx 50 watt new model. Oh, okay. Oldie. Okay. Cool. 50 watt amp. Nice. Do you play out, Jim? Sandy Anniversary Broadcaster 4. Nice. Wow, the MSR. Holy cow. I didn't know it was that much. That's kind of crazy. I mean, to be fair, the vintage ones have been climbing in value too. To my dismay, I'd love a bigger Magnetone. But I can't justify the price. They're just not built that well and sound great, but, you know, they're just not built to the same level as this amp, for example. So you do the 50 watt, do you use it through a attenuator or something, or has it got a good master on it? Man, I'm really trying to get this stuff to stop lifting, and it's fighting me a bit. Pretty good Black Friday deal, fair enough. I've got a Bad Cat 412 cab that is just spectacular, and I played a number of Bad Cat amps, excuse me, and they just all sounded really good. All right, I think it's about as good as we're gonna get. Cool. Oh, this side popped out a little bit. Let's fix that real quick. You like the browns more. Yeah. I think most people would agree with you, Scott. I mean, there's obviously some diehard Magnetone folks somewhere, but they're not as common. I'm talking right now to kind of the ultimate diehard brown face amp guy. On Facebook, he started the Facebook group for the brown face amps, and he's local here. He's got an insane collection. He just picked up probably the rarest Fender of all time, the brown face metal knob. If you've never heard of that, metal knob 310 Bandmaster, and I can't imagine that's got to be low to mid 5-figure amp pretty easily. All right, there you go, Scott. There's your first stuffed cathode bypass cap. Came out pretty good, I think. Did have some liftage here, but I mean, I tried. Want to work on an intermittent reverb 1972 Super Reverb? Well, Brian, I literally just finished one of those recently. If you check the channel. Those 70s Fenders, man. I love them and I hate them. Make sure we got the thing facing the right way there. So I got the spacing just about perfect. Good master has more gain than anything I need, but I can get some nice rock tones out with everything turned way down. Sweet. It's always I personally think going with a bigger amp is 9 times out of 10 a better option. Also because a bigger amp, I mean, tends to sound better turned down than a small amp. I feel like I run into that a lot. Yeah, the SV20, those are old school style, right? No master volume. I always thought those were really cool, but then I heard how much they were in England versus here, and I got really turned off. I just couldn't believe how much cheaper they were over there. Bro, I just found the Super. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's a great group. Tim is the guy that started it. He's got an insane collection. It's like hard to comprehend his collection. Nice JM50. Is that like a I'm assuming JM meaning John Mayer style? It's like his 2-rock or Dumble style. All right, let's see how close we got to nailing those bends. Yeah, definitely I would go used on that. Pretty close. So what is it? His 2-rock signature that they went and copied? The one that they stopped making? Then he went to he went to PRS, right? After that, something to do with 2-rock. I don't know, making ones for other people or something. I don't. There's some kind of controversy behind it. Cool, that'll work. All right, let's go ahead and desolder this. I've been really curious about the whole kind of Dumble world. I've never played anything in that vein before, but I really like to. I'd like to try one. I've been kind of passively eyeing a Amplify Nation amp just to check one out. The what do they call it? The Overdrive Reverb or something was kind of the one I was looking at. I don't know how much they are, actually. I've never actually looked. I probably should look so then I stop being interested, but I don't know. Maybe, are they 2 rock money? If they are, then I'm out. Cherry Tone, I've always kind of been slightly curious about, just because it kind of strikes me as like a parts guitar, like you know, you build a Fender copy or something with parts, and you can pump a bunch of money into it, get something really cool, and that could just really punch way above its weight class, or match, you know, a Fender custom shop or something. But the resale value will be horrific, right? And so it's kind of a interesting thing to me of like, well, the amp could be incredible, but as soon as you try and sell it, you're kind of screwed. So is that a consideration at all? Not that I sell anything, but I just sometimes I think about that. Got it. That's cool. Do you do a kit, like build it yourself kit or whatever, or did you buy it pre-built? Pedal with 2 12x7s. Wow, that sounds insane. That's pretty sick. Yeah, I know somebody that just picked up a Amplify Nation steel string singer, but he got a 50 watt, which to me was a little odd, just because isn't the steel string singer supposed to be their like super high headroom? So if you're gonna do it, might as well just go with the full 150 watt. At least that's what I think. But look at the bends on this from the factory. This thing's crazy. So now we can start mocking everything up. Whoever designed, well, YouTube, that designed the chat bar here, it's got a heart symbol right in the lower right hand corner, which covers half of your comment, Brian. So I can't read what it says. I'd say Cherry Tone resale is, can't see what it says, with boutique amp resale. Are you saying roughly on par? Yeah, okay, on par. Thanks, Scott, for bumping it. Oh, that's right. We talked about the board screw. I forgot about that. Well, does anything need to be done? Functionally, no. You've got plenty of, you know, this ain't going anywhere. It's stuck on there, but visually, probably. Now, finding one that's got similar patina that's nickel might be a little hard. It's not necessary, no. I mean, the board's not, I'm not worried about the board moving. Well, mocking the parts up, I still think we could access it. Thanks for calling that out. I completely forgot. We talked about that. I do have it in my notes on my phone, but my phone is what I'm using to view the comments. Yeah, so we can still reach it. So that's no big deal. We can cross that bridge. Boy, this one's going to be tough. Can we fit everything in there? But if I turn it sideways, then I will lose the whole list of comments. Bend this cable up and out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they are thicker leads. We got 5 in on that one, but there was one thinner lead. I think we can make it work just. It's going to be tight, though. Probably have to cut these ends. They're just so wonky from the factory. I bet Lyle would have a slew of extras, or Uncle Doug. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I could see maybe there's something we could... Yeah, I don't know. They could, I guess. I mean, I can ask Lyle and see if he's got extras laying around. I'd be kind of surprised, but... Now if I can just make a little bit of room. This eyelet for something to fit somewhere. Just need a little bit of room. It's a touch and go operation. It really is. It really is. Don't need it to go in a ton, just a little bit, and I'll be okay. Okay, so that's in enough. That's in enough. That'll work. All right, I think we did it. It is right behind me, Jim. And I have been wanting to do it for so long now. And there was a moment where, well, more than a moment, where a friend offered to let me do it to his guitar. He had just picked up a Custom Shop SG for a really good price, and he wanted to age it, and he wanted me to age it. And so I was going to do a whole series on me aging the guitar, kind of learning how to do it, including the lacquer checking and all that. And he got cold feet. So unfortunately, I was waiting for that, and then he changed his mind, which I understand. But that kind of changed some things. And one of the biggest pieces is that the only guitars I have I could do it to are white. And white checks differently. So I wanted something that was more standard for the video. And I was briefly looking to see if I could find a really good price, even with a headstock break. Custom Shop 2018 plus Gibson. And I just couldn't find any. So I just kind of paused it. But I really want to do it. I will be doing it to my white Les Paul Custom, which is a little crazy because it is an extremely valuable guitar. But I just really want to. It's already aging a ton, but I just know the lacquer checking is going to take forever. So if I can just get that going when it can't get going on its own, that'll be good, I think. And then everything else will catch up over time. Just visually inspecting it right now, making sure everything looks okay before I solder. This side's bulging out a little bit, but I'll be able to fix that once it's soldered in. It looks okay. Let me just confirm in my notes that both of these resistors tested fine and we don't have to replace them. This should be the 4.7K. It is. This should be the 820. It is. Those both tested fine. Okay, we're good to go. So let's go ahead and solder. Let me first cut this ground lead. You know, Jim, I even reached out to and talked to a few different people that age their guitars, like Regio, who's kind of known for their aging, about their methods with the freezer, and it took a while to convince them to give me any of their information, but I did get some good information about temperatures and how long to do it and all that sort of stuff to try. So I feel pretty good about it. I just need the right guitars to do it. Which my 2011, yeah. See, that's the thing too, is they changed the lacquer a couple times, and 2011 is a different lacquer formula than what they used. 2019 plus is supposed to be, I guess, but my 2018 has got checking, so I know 2018 is fine. I think it's 2016 plus should be fine to do this process. I'm sure you could check the older ones, but it would probably be a different amount of time and whatever else. All right, guys, that looks really good. I'm really happy with that. So the first one is done. Take a little isopropyl and remove my Sharpie marks on the leads of the caps there. Cool. All right, let me zoom in to show you guys. So from the top, it looks basically original, apart from, obviously, we lost a little bit of the shell, but that's okay. And then you can see it's just foam on this side. See the domes, hopefully okay. And then same thing on this side. It's bulging a little bit, but I will fix that. I'll just do it another time just because I don't have to flip the whole chassis around and all that stuff. I'll just do that on my own time. All right, one more to go. There's really no doing this fast. It's just you got to take your time, and it's a bit tedious, but I don't mind it. This amp deserves that kind of treatment, in my opinion. I'll tell you what, I have a friend that has it's not a Johnny Marr, but it is I guess one of those thin skin reissue Jags. That thing has checked naturally more than any guitar I've ever seen in my life. The whole guitar is checked completely, front to bottom, top. Actually, take that back. I don't think the headstock checked, but the body checked insane amount, and it looks wild. It looks really good with the checking. I think they all look better with checking, to be honest, which is why I'm even considering doing it. I want that custom to check so bad. I really wish it would just do it naturally, but I know it won't. So, but the rest of the guitar is aging nicely on its own. So Jim, what guitars do you run through your links? Gosh, it's so fragile. There we go. Fender and G&L. Okay. You don't see too many G&Ls out in the wild. I do have a friend that has the, what do they call it, Doheny? The Jazzmaster style one. It's a very cool guitar. He quite likes it. All right, we didn't really have any lifting on this one apart from the seam lines. So it's pretty promising. Nice. Those thin skin Jazzmasters, I wanted one of those for so long. I really wanted the charcoal frost metallic ones that Wildwood did way back when. All right, there we go. This one was a bit cleaner. We still had some lift off, just unavoidable, I think. All right, let's get our last two cathode bypass caps ready to go. So basically what I want to do here, try and show the camera, is I want to try and hold them level, and then we're going to try and get one lead to wrap around the other one for the ground side, not the positive side. And I did it shorter this time because I had such little room for the foam on the last one. So we're just going to have that mechanical connection, and then we will solder it together as well. So let me just cut this. And then get the helping hand out. Burgundy Mist. Oof, that's sick. Sherwood Green, that's also sick. They didn't do any bad ones, I don't think. All of them looked good. All right, there we go. Nice solid connection, mechanically and soldered. So we might be able to get away with using the thicker foam, which I think we will. Very nice. I always forget to do it for the camera. All right, there we go. I'll just do this side. So much faster it is the second time around. Look at that. Perfect. Easy. Now the hardest part. Can we complete this perfectly and not lose any of the covering? Okay, we're off to a good start. Nope. I wanted to replace all of the electrolytics first, Jim, before we test that, just to be safe. So we'll do the doghouse after this, and then we will test the Astrons. We are a little worried about them, for sure, myself and the owner. There's a few options that we can do if they test badly. We've already got a couple blue moldeds that we can swap in. But yeah, we'll see. I've always wanted to see if you can freaking Dremel like right along the green line there. Pop the top off, pop the old cap out, see if you can fit a new one in there. I don't know what it looks like on the inside if that's even possible, but I've always wanted to try it. I've never had an opportunity. I mean, that could be totally insane depending on how they're made on the inside. All right, we're doing good so far, guys. This last little bit. Oh, come on. All right, we did it. This one looks great, actually. Sweet, I'm stoked. There we go. Cool. So there, hopefully you can see that. Looks really good. Now I'll put that off to the side and we can go ahead and remove these components, clean out the eyelets, start fresh like I like to always do. It's kind of interesting. These leads got this kind of white film on them. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Zoom in a little bit. So I think we'll clean those with some isopropyl. Let me grab it real quick. I don't know what that's from. Need more blue moldeds. Yeah, the 0.1s are harder to find, you were saying. What about those ones you found, Scott, that were those like recreations? Somebody said they like recreated the yellow Astron, but it was a new version. Have you looked into those anymore to see if those are more viable? All right, we're just about done, guys. I say done in quotation marks because obviously there's a lot more to be done still. But as far as this is concerned, we're very close with all of the caps on the top of the board here. Try and line these up right. This is hard to do from my angle. Pretty pricey. Yeah, I guess that's not surprising. All right, let's see how close we got here. Dang, we nailed it first try? Let's see. I think we nailed it first try. Sweet. Okay. Just gotta cut these a little bit shorter. Sweet. Really happy with that. Okay. Let's just fit these back in. I'm kind of bummed none of this will be able to be shown in a full-length video. But that's okay. You guys got to see it live. The owner got to see it live, so that's good enough. For use blue mold, how close original intended value is okay. Yeah, that's fine. 0.96. Oh, yeah. That's totally fine. Yeah, none of them are going to be exact. They all have a tolerance just like resistors. And that's totally fine. In fact, I'd be shocked if any of the originals measured even that close when they were new. But we could be lucky, Scott. We could get lucky here. We'll have to see. Okay, we can go ahead and solder those in and we're good. All right, guys. Awesome. I'm really happy with how this came out. Made an absolute mess everywhere. Cool. All right, let me change it to autofocus so you guys can see. Oh, let me first take a rag with isopropyl to clean off the Sharpie marks before I forget. All right, let's check it out. Awesome. They look great to me. I hope you're stoked, Scott. But I'm really pleased. You can see, we can go back to this one too. We did this one on the earlier stream. And the first one we did. And just like that, we got brand new electrolytics in it, and you can hardly tell I was in here. Really pleased with that. Obviously, the solder's a little shinier in those places. I mean, honestly, Scott, if we want to get crazy, I could take care of that too. But it looks really good. I'm really, really happy with how that came out, especially if we're doing it on a live on a live stream. It's one thing to do it, you know, all alone in the quiet of a lonely garage. It's another thing to do it while talking to people. I'm pretty stoked. In the future, you ever look for a video drop off serotonin, go through it. To be honest, Brian, I just don't know enough to even have thoughts about about those sort of things. I'm really just not quite at that level yet of I'm you know, the technical skills of doing the things and, you know, fixing stuff on kind of vintage amps like this, I'm getting better at. But you know, being able to evaluate a new build and choices in the design is really just out of my depth. Someday I will get there for sure, but I'm just not quite there yet. But for now, I'm just, you know, kind of really enjoying being able to work on these pieces of history like this. I mean, this is just an incredible time capsule, and I know, you know, if I had done this as a normal video and uploaded, I'm sure people would have given me a lot of shit for stuffing the caps. But I think it came out really good. I'm really happy with it, and I think it makes sense. It's really clearly easy to see that they're stuffed, you know, if you look at the side with the foam. But I just think it's, again, if this was my personal amp, I would have done that 100%. So to each their own. But awesome. Well, Scott, I think we're probably going to end here. Yeah, man, I think it's I think we made really good progress tonight. And we'll do the doghouse. I'll do that. What I'll probably do, honestly, is I will do the, yeah, nothing stands out. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was the goal. What I'll probably do, Scott, is I will film the doghouse replacements as a video, a normal video. And in that video, I will touch on the work done here and kind of talk about it a little bit. But unfortunately, I won't really be able to show anything because the live stream will be too low res, I think. I'm not, yeah, because it's 1080. I'm not sure. Maybe I can pull out something from the live stream to show a little bit of it. But either way, you got to see the work, and that's all that really matters, is the owner being able to see the work done. So cool. Oh, while I have you, Scott, if you're still on here, I wanted to quickly, you don't have to tell me now and, you know, in front of everybody, but I did want to just ask you about this. Let me zoom in. So for these screen resistors here, we talked about, you know, this one is a replacement, and this is the original. And we talked about replacing this one with another 1 watt carbon comp 470 ohm to kind of match this one a bit more. And I do have that. Let me grab it real quick. I bought several new old stock ones, and they look like this. So nobody really sells the non-military version of these 1 watt 470 ohms anymore. They've all been purchased up by people. But what they do sell are the military versions, which have an extra band here. So you can see it's got a yellow band. This one's mounted the wrong way, but so you can see it's yellow, purple, brown, silver, and this one has an additional yellow band. So the yellow additional band is just for the military resistors. Now what I do is I put this in a drill. I take an X-Acto knife and I carve off that additional band so you lose it. So then you get the 4 bands. And if you want to see more about that, I did it in my Vibrolux series. But if you notice, this, even though this is a new old stock AB resistor, I talked to Lyle in the previous stream. I'm not sure if he caught that. Or no, it was actually the beginning of this stream. And he mentioned that they didn't only use AB resistors. Sometimes they just use other ones. And you'll notice the pattern, the spacing is different on the resistor here, and the colors are different. I mean, they're still the same. They're still functionally yellow, violet, brown, silver, but the actual, shade of it is different on this versus this one. So there's kind of 2 or 3 options we can go with here. This is just totally up to you. They're all functionally, I've tested this already. It measured exactly the same as this one, which measures fine. They're both well within tolerance for this. So we could replace this one with this. I take off that band and you've got that like there. So that's what it'll look like. Hopefully you guys can see that. And yep, that'll be it. Or I could use 2 of these and replace both so that they will match. You'll have 2 of those. Or option 3 is to go with what I use on every other amp, which is these really nice Vishay 3 watt 470 ohms. They're fairly subtle looking, kind of really light green color. They're pretty small, and they're 3 watts, so quite a bit more capable. And these will last forever, and performance-wise, these would be the better bet. And again, this is what I use in all the other amps I do, and this is what Lyle uses on all his amps that he works on. Fenders with the screen resistors 470 ohm. So that's option 3, where we could replace both of those with those. I'm totally open to any of those 3 options, to be honest. So I could see a argument for any of them. So either let me know now or think about it and shoot me a text about what you would rather do to replace either that one or both of them. So your call completely. But while I have you here, I thought I'd just visually show you the difference, since that's easier than trying to explain it over text. So I don't know if you're still in here or not, but that was just something I wanted to call to your attention. No, I'm weird. Option new green is yucky. Haha, okay. Totally fair. So would you like to then replace just this one with the AB resistor, or replace both of them with matching AB resistors? Again, tested fine, but it's not an exact visual match. Again, the goal, ignore this extra yellow band. That'll be gone. But the exact color and spacing will not match. We're getting really, really nitty gritty here, but I'm totally into it. So your call. Just the one? Okay, cool. So I will go ahead and take the drill, remove that band, and we'll swap that over in the video when I do the doghouse. And then once that's done, well, I think what I'll do is I'll do that, do the doghouse, and then I will replace the 2-prong with a 3-prong, and then we'll fire it up and test all of the Astrons, and that'll probably be I guess that'll be part 3 at that point. And then we'll test them and then kind of start working on swapping the ones that need to be swapped or whatever we need to do. So I think that'll be a good game plan then. Cool. All right, thank you for confirming. Sweet. Well, I think that's it for me, guys. Any last words? Any final questions for me? Anything you have been dying to say to me in a live forum? So funny. Every once in a while, I get I get these comments of people just like absolutely trying to roast me. It's so funny. People are, most comments are quite benign, but every once in a while, you get somebody that clearly had a bad day. They're always funny to me. I always wondered if they ever would pop in during a live stream, what would happen, like if they would actually try and say something to me. But anyways, thank you again, Jim. Really appreciate the birthday gift. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Hey, James. You're like me, man. You are such a night owl. I don't want to end the stream now that you just joined. If you don't know Rewind Electric, you should know Rewind Electric. James is, you guys think I'm crazy, stuffing all these caps, which you just missed, James. Stuffed all these caps, so all of these cathode bypass caps and the bias cap have been stuffed, which was all in this live stream. You've done it. You've shown me your own amps doing it on them, so that's nothing new to you. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. It came out really good. But anyways, the pretty stoked how this came out. But yeah, like I was saying, Rewind Electric. Have rewinds in my bar. Yeah, I know. Go back and watch. Yeah, James is doing some amazing stuff. He's got some really cool things going on with his pickups, and he just makes incredible pickups. But beyond that, beyond the pickup stuff, which is the business, obviously, but just as a person, James is just amazing. He's such a kind, thoughtful person that's really just taught me a ton. He literally wrote the book on PAFs, and he's just a wealth of knowledge, and he knows a ton about vintage amps as well and working on them and all of that. So definitely check him out. Check out his channel too. He does a bunch of really, really nerdy videos that I appreciate, and those people that watch this content will also appreciate. So check him out. And while I have you here, James, we need to figure out that Strat pickup we talked about forever ago, the mid-60s swap. I would really like to circle back to that Strat and do that Ron Ellis comparison. Get that sucker dialed. I've been itching to play it for a while now, and which is weird because I don't like Strats, but it's just been staring at me. It's so pretty on the wall. I'd love to do that comparison. That'll probably be my last pickup comparison for a while. Maybe the Telly will be next, but I've been just really curious about how those sound. So, well, you're far too kind to me, James. You've been incredibly gracious. So many people have. I've been really, really lucky to run into a lot of very nice people. Lyle, Sonic Audio, he's been really great to me. Brad, obviously, has been really great to me. Matt, who's a moderator, I don't think he's on right now, but he's been really great to me as well. Lots of people, all the people in here. There's Matt. It's the ergonomics for me, and also the band I play in. The other guy plays a Telly, and we play pretty rockin' stuff. So the Les Paul's perfect for the live stuff I do. And the ergonomics of the Strat I just struggle with a little bit. But unless I have to play it for a week straight, otherwise it just doesn't work for me. Oh, nice. That'll be sick. Yeah, I love all those replicas you've been building, James. I want to see more content, though, dude. You got to shoot more stuff and make videos and show people. You do so many cool things behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Well, we just finished, Matt. We just did, here, I'll show you guys real quick. I'll re-show you all the stuffed caps. So you saw those, but these are the two new ones. Really pleased with how it came out. Yeah, the volume knob kills me, Scott. The middle pickups kills me too, honestly. I am really heavy-handed when I play, and yeah, I catch the middle pickup. Intelligent strat, yeah. The other guitar player in the band right now, he plays a very kind of bright, chimey tone. I say chimey, Fender chimey, and the he just takes up that space, and so I just kind of act to be really big, so that works well. I have a great time just freaking cranking the amps with the AC30 and some other amp to pair with it, plus the Les Paul, and it just sounds mega. Sounds so good. Yeah, well, James, you need to get better at it because people, I think, would really dig that content. Well, I think the Contours and the Jazzmaster are the greatest of all time. Jazzmaster is the most comfortable guitar of all time for me, and it's not even close. Just so good. I would love to, honestly. That would be the guitar I would play in the band 100% if he didn't play the Telly. That would be the guitar I would grab. Les Pauls are home for me, Matt. They just feel so good. I like the thicker neck. I can't do the really thin necks. My Strat, specifically, I bought because it was a 65 reissue, which has a slightly thicker neck. My Jazzmaster has a thicker neck. The Danocaster. All of my guitars pretty much have thicker necks except for the Gretsch and the Les Paul Jr. Yeah, they take a lot more to get going. You're right, James. I just love how thick, specifically my 54 custom is such a thick set because it's all mahogany. It doesn't have the maple top, and it definitely makes a difference. I'm 100% convinced it makes a difference. It has got a very thick mid range that's unlike even the thicker regular maple cap Les Pauls I've played. It's in the P90s obviously play a part, but it's a thick sounding guitar. And not muddy too. To be clear, it's not a muddy guitar at all. It's just really, really mid heavy and thick. Um, SG bodies home. I love SGs too, but man, they're hard for me to keep in tune because of the mounting of the neck and just kind of shifting and bending. And I'm pretty aggressive when I play, and I can bend the neck without even meaning to, and I pull them out of tune. Yeah, James, the 54 with the staple, which I'm still eventually want to get to the point of doing that. What we talked about forever ago, of modding that Seymour Duncan pickup, the staple, to be more vintage accurate. I mean, it sounds really good now, but I would be curious. Dang, really? As beefy as the R9? I wonder if it's the same. Is it the same 57 soft V as the Tellys will get? Because that's a thick neck on my Telly. It has a 57 soft V and it's really thick. Yeah, I don't know if I told you, James, if I'm gonna throw the 54 custom into the freezer and try and check it. The body is just got a ton of wear, ton of scratches in it and stuff, and it's starting to wear really nicely. But I just know it's never gonna check on its own, so I want to check it now, and then I'll get all the dings naturally and everything else down the line. But I really want it to be I really want it to age. In fact, I'm gonna go grab it and kind of show. I want to show on camera what I mean because it's really hard to show it in a photo. Let me grab it real quick. Be right back. One sec. All right, let's see if I can get this to show on camera. Let me zoom in a little bit. It's gonna struggle to focus. Let me go to manual. Gosh, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. Hopefully you guys will be able to see all that. I mean, if I played this guitar for, 5 years, like I am now, I have no doubt I would wear through the finish there. And then the covers themselves, too, are also, hopefully you can see that, they have all these scratches on them for me. And then the neck pickup as well. So yeah, it's getting beat up in a nice way. But I just really want it to check. It needs a check. Let's see. Put guitars with pickups in the freezer, but you might want to pull the pickups first if you're not willing to risk it. Yeah, I've talked to a few people about that, James, and that do it, like Regio, and there's a couple guys on Instagram that buy reissues and age them, and like Non-Murphy Lab, and check them in the freezer, and they were, after some, took a while to convince them to give me a little bit of their secrets, but yeah, they kind of told me a bit of their process, and 2 of the 3 I talked to both said that they left the pickups in, it was no problem. So I was thinking I'd probably just leave them in, honestly, but I was going to actually ask you before I did it, just to double check. But they only put them in for a very short amount of time. It was, at the temperatures they told me, it was about 20 minutes, if I remember correctly. Stainless jumbos, not jumbo, but definitely stainless. They are the same size as a R9. Just sent you a picture of mine. Oh, did you text me? Let's see. Jeez, that top is insane. Holy cow, dude. All right, bring it over. Let's chuck it in the freezer, huh? Come on, it'll be fun. Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's pretty stunning. I went back and forth for a long time before I got my first Les Paul, which is the gold top, if whether I wanted to get a flame top or not. I'm just so picky about the flame top. It's got to be just perfect. It's got to be just perfect, exactly what I want to see. Same with the color. And I was like, I'm never gonna find one in my budget. So, and I always loved gold tops too. They're so classy. So I ended up going with the gold top. And my gold top is a unbelievably good guitar and stupid light. It's just a stunning guitar. And then obviously the custom is its own thing. Let me put this down and I could lay it down here. Better look at it, I guess. Light's not really doing it any favors, but what about this one? Maybe you'll be able to see the scratches better without those reflections, actually. Let's see. It's really obvious in person, but it's so hard to show in a photo or anything. Here, you can kind of see it there. All my guitars get that. I do not own a single guitar that does not have that. That's just my picking style is pretty aggressive. But yeah, these frets they're R9 sized. I'm not afraid to refinish it. It's just a $6,600. Well, I can't guarantee success, but I can say I think it'll be fine because I know and I've talked to people that have done it, and it's really cool. I mean, it gets the vertical checking just naturally, which is kind of mind blowing to me. I thought they would. My thinking while I reach out to the people to figure out what they do is to see if they start it somehow to get it to go in the kind of the straight lines, and it just naturally does it, I guess, which is kind of interesting to me. But man, I'll tell you what, a Gibson with checking on it, sharp look, big fan. Doesn't matter what the model is. Few cycles, 10 to 30 minutes, or about zero. Fahrenheit work for me, but it depends on the lacquer, formula, thickness. Sometimes the opaque pigments ones are forming a bit different. Yeah, so what they told me, the guys I talked to, is that black is the hardest to check by far. White is very easy to check, and the 2019 plus lacquer on the VOS model is different, and it checks easier. The non-Murphy Lab VOS stuff from 2019 plus, and yeah, it. But that being said, my 2018 Gold Top has natural checking. In addition to its razor blade checking, it's got natural checking. So I think that what I was saying before is I think 2016 plus is probably all about the same as far as what it requires. They were saying, I have it written down in my notes somewhere, but I think it was more like it was below zero. I want to say like -17 or something is what they were recommending. I already scraped the binding and sprayed it. The bleed turned pink and it looked like crap. Scraped the binding and sprayed it? What do you mean sprayed it? Yeah, see, Scott, I had heard and talked to a few people too that tried it themselves outdoors, and it just did not work. And I myself tried it outside, just leaving it outside when it was quite cold in the 30s, low 30s, and then bringing it into a really, really warm room or a warm car, and it did nothing. But the people I talked to was, below zero is what they said, if I remember correctly. I refinished the binding only. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Red dye. Yeah, the binding bleed. That's the other thing. I know people talk about that. I've never owned a burst Les Paul before. But people talk about that like that's a vintage spec thing, but I've never seen a photo of a vintage burst with binding bleed. Have you guys? I mean, I've looked at photos of them before, and I've never seen that. Maybe I've just missed it. Or maybe they claim it happened before and then it went away eventually. I mean, is there any proof to that? Maybe I'm crazy. And they had binding bleed? Because every modern reissue I've played that's a burst, especially the really crazy red dye that's super vibrant they've been using fairly recently. And man, the binding was just completely taken over by it. Shoot me a text, Scott. I'm curious. I've had some friends check out some bursts, take a bunch of photos and whatnot. And yeah, I've never seen it. James, if you're still on, oh, you are. Okay, cool. Mostly it helps people. Certainly not to the extent. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. Mostly it helps people. That's what I figured. Because they use the dye is so vibrant on the reds. They've gone like it's so much more vibrant. What I'm trying to say than it used to be, and I think it's made it worse. Man, it's crazy the gold hardware how it's tarnishing on this. It's like almost lost all of its gold right here. That's all from me too. I love this guitar. This guitar is just, I'm so happy with it. Also fade back with UV. Interesting. So the red in the pore filler is what bleeds. Came back with the new lacquer. It's not as bad. Well, I'll tell you what, Matt. I mean, dead serious. If you want me to chuck it in the freezer and let's try it, I'm down 100%. I'm planning on doing this guitar, but also, as I've been told, white checks very differently, and everyone's told me they check way easier, and it's different. So anything that happens to this, I don't think is going to be a one-to-one with anything else. All right, let's see those pictures, Scott. Boy, that's subtle, huh, Scott? Is there any on the neck? That's where I always see it. Wow, it's very subtle. I guess I can try and show it. I'm not giving your phone number away. Yeah, there's definitely something there, but boy, is that subtle. Yeah, 60 years of fade. That's fair. That's a good point. UV didn't touch the bleed on the binding. It left it under the UV lamp and didn't do a dang thing. I tried that first. Interesting. UV. So my buddy, so the SG that I talked about before, that he was interested in me aging it for him. The back had faded a ton. Or was it the front that faded a ton or the back? No, the back faded a ton for some reason, and the front was still quite red. And so he was wanting to put under some UV to get it more even. And then he also aged the He tried aging the headstock to be a bit more yellow as well. It had this weird like red spot on it, and he put it under UV light and it went away. Actually burned it away, which is cool. I think the latest Murphy Labs hit it well. I'll tell you what, the burst you just sent me a photo of looks very, very similar in color to my buddy's old Murphy Lab RO he had. Looks almost identical, actually. But Murphy Lab, I haven't played a new one, like a 2023 one. I'm curious. To me, it's just so interesting because they vary so much in the checking. Some of them look great. Some of them look terrible. But here's the kicker for me. So they've aged so much. Everyone I know of that's had one they've aged so much since they've owned it. They've checked. Like I have a buddy that has a Murphy Lab Black Beauty, and it had the checking like maybe every little bit, kind of like that sort of thing. And now it's got a ton of checking, and he's not had it for that long, and he doesn't play it out really. I don't think he's ever played it live, or maybe he does. He hasn't done it many times. It's mostly at home in its case, and it's checked a ton, and he hasn't owned it for that long. I'm just so curious. What is a Murphy Lab gonna look like in 10 years? I mean, we've all seen the flaking of the finish and all that sort of stuff, but I'm curious what they're gonna look like over a little bit of time. I'm dubious, one might say. Pink binding, bright pink. Yeah, that sucks. I'm not into that. But yeah, I think this thing will look really cool with checking. I'm a little nervous to do it, but I mean, this guitar is a lifer for me. It's never going anywhere. I would be bummed if it spiderweb checked, but I don't know. Every example I've seen from the freezer technique has not resulted in that. So, holy moly, Scott, you're sending me a lot of photos, huh? Real 54. Wow, that is insanely thin binding. Holy cow. Yeah, that's gorgeous. Wow. Yeah, I mean, see, this is what the thing too is I have to remember is that look at that. It's got the spiderweb checking. It's got checking, the normal typical vertical. I call this vertical, but it's got that, and then it's also got a million little side checks like my gold top has gotten, where it's gotten all these little lines connecting. So they get both over time. I got to remember that. Yeah, look at that. I mean, this thing is crazy. Holy cow. So it's got the beautiful, look at that, beautiful, really defined checking lines. And then if you zoom in, it's got all of the crisscross pattern kind of filling it in. Yeah, that's pretty stunning. Wow. Maybe a Murphy Lab will look like this one day. Maybe not. I don't know. I am curious. Yeah, you can see here how it's got all the vertical, but then it's got all these little horizontal lines connecting the vertical. So as long as you have the defined vertical lines, I think it's fine getting the horizontal stuff. That's really cool. Thanks for sending this, Scott. That's awesome. Really no greening, though, which is interesting. I would love for my gold top to green, but I know it'll never happen. Holy cow. And a V. Where did you check out a V? Oh my gosh. Jeez. That's insane. Holy cow. That's crazy. Where did you play a V? Oh wow, you're right. Yeah, you can see how the checking goes with the chevron of the, well, it's the opposite of the V where the wood joins. That's so cool. That's insane. What is one of those worth? Is that is that $1 million guitar? Crazy. Okay, now you're just showing off, Scott. I don't know if you want me to show that on camera or not, but dang. You got to hold the Explorer too. Is that a Gibson Garage? Where's that at? Half a mil? Okay. I didn't even know. Yeah, I guess. I thought 58 was like 90% of them were 58. So I thought 59 would be even more. Gibson Garage. Wow, that's insane. I didn't know you could get, well, maybe you're special and you got connections to get access like that. That's pretty badass though. Explorer is more. Got it. A mil plus. Damn. I bet that was a little nerve-wracking. Let's look at Matt's R9. Look at the top on that thing. You can see that or not. Beautiful. Love the color too. Yeah, showing off. Here, I'll pull it up. I mean, holding $1 million Explorer. You guys see this? Let me focus it. There you go. Does it get any better than that? That's pretty sick. You know someone? Well, good for you, man. Incredible. Look at that V. I love that. That somebody just played it to crap like that. That's so cool. That's so cool. I'm really curious. You play the crap out of a reissue, what that'll do. If you know, if one day they'll end up not to the same degree, the same kind of checking or whatever, but I don't know. One can dream, right? James, are you still on? I have a question for you. I need your advice about this Bandmaster I'm looking at. Seen person played vintage Fenders. Yeah, I mean you can't die. That wins, right? That's the ultimate trump card. You can't defeat that. I've never played a burst, but I have played a lot of vintage Fenders, including a stunning Fiesta Red Strat. That was just insane. The what's the famous year that Gary Moore had? 64 was it? 62? Anyways, yeah, nobody can own them. I mean, really, the grand scheme of things. All right, James, quick question. I don't know how much you know about brown face era Fenders, but I'm looking at a Bandmaster, and it's a 1960 center volume. Have you heard of center volume before? Did I already talk to you about this amp? I might have. I can't remember. It's where so 60 was a period in 1960 was like April to something, not all of 1960, they had these the Bandmasters, which were a 3x10 with a 5G7 circuit. So not the 6G7 that you see with the piggyback setup of the Bandmaster. Yeah, okay. Anyways, it's so it's a center volume Bandmaster. They only made them in a small period in 1960 where they were still a 3x10 like the 5E7 Tweed Bandmaster, but obviously it's the harmonic trem. So it's a 5G7, which is different than the 6G7, which is the piggyback, like I was saying. And yeah, very, very cool, incredibly rare amps. And so I know somebody that has one, and I've been eyeing and talking to him about it for a while. And I made him an offer a while back, 2 months ago or something. Having only seen the front of it in person, and then also just seen photos of the front. And he sent me some follow-ups today on kind of what the rest of it, because he didn't really tell me anything else about it. And I just sent my offer. I'm like, hey, I sold 2 amps. I sold that AC30 we talked about, and I sold the Pro Reverb to fund this amp, because I was, in talks with him about it. And I was like, okay, let me just make an offer and I'll sell those 2 and make the offer. And so I did, and I didn't hear anything about it for 2 months, basically, if I remember correctly. Anyways, and so it got back to me, and it is a bit of a basket case. So it's the same person I purchased my Gretsch from, the owner of the Silvertone, and the guy I purchased the Vox AC30 Super Twin from, which was also a basket case more than was originally told to me. It was listed as all original way back when I went to go check it out, and then turns out it was nowhere near all original, including a replaced power transformer. But there's a whole series of that on my YouTube channel. But anyways, so the Bandmaster, maybe I can pull it up on my phone actually and show you. It's a bit of a basket case. So here's the front of it. Let me pull this up here. I've seen pictures of a 3x10 brown that was in a tweed cabinet. Whoa, that's crazy. So it would have had P10Rs. All of the original ones had P10Rs. Let me switch to autofocus so it'll track here. So this is what it looks like on the outside. This is the only photo I had ever received of it. You can see volume in the center. Super, super clean faceplate. Really, really clean. Original grow cloth in okay condition. Got some stains, whatever. It's fine. The Tolex itself, with the kind of really rare pinkish Tolex, is in good shape overall. And so this is what I saw of it. And then he sent me some other photos. So here's the back of it. So immediately it's got legs, which these never had legs. And so somebody added legs. And then obviously it's missing the back plate, and somebody put this really hokey back plate on there. And you can see a replaced speaker there. And you get into all this. So you've got one of those was, what do they call it? The pulse adjust or something? The feature that was never actually installed on the fenders, but they put a hole in the chassis, early chassis for. So there's that, and there's another hole there, another hole there, hole there, hole there, hole there, hole there, hole there. So I think there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, and then there's 2 tube sockets that were also cut in there. So there's 9 holes in the chassis. Nothing on the front, thankfully, but 9 holes in the chassis. So that's kind of crazy. The story goes that, and the guy says he's owned it since 93. So he's had it for 31 years. 1 year longer than I've been alive. But anyways, the story goes that it had a reverb unit basically built into it, a la a Vibra King, I believe. And you can see kind of just his notes of like what he thought it might have been in there. But apparently this was done before he got it, which was in 93 or so. And yeah, so talking about Billy Zoom, who I guess is somebody that was famous. I don't know. Billy Zoom. But anyways, yeah, he talks about kind of Fender reverb with extra tube sockets in the back and installed in it. So P10R, but it doesn't have that. It's got a Oxford Jensen and a CTS in there now. And the power transformer has been replaced. Well, it's not the power transformer, unfortunately. It is, of course, here you can see 5G7. Super, super cool. And there's your Jensen C10Q, Oxford, and CTS. So a hodgepodge of speakers. Hey, 100% hodgepodge of speakers in there. But that's not the end of the world. P10Rs, or those Jensens, they're underpowered anyways for these amps. They always blew. So that's the golf course amp at the back 9 is full holes, 9 of them perfectly in your case. Okay, great. That's what I figured, Matt. Because I was like, this guy is supposed to be really well known. Who freaking puts in, look at these holes, into a freaking, like, I don't care what the customer says. Somebody came to me with an amp like this and said, hey, can you please put in 9 holes in 2 tube sockets? I would be like, no, absolutely not. Get a freaking reverb tank. What are you doing? You psychopath. But yeah, he was kind of lauding him as like some great tech or whatever, but obviously not the case. So, but here's where it gets interesting. 2 places it gets interesting. First, nearly all original. So, it's got a replace resistor here, replace resistor here, but almost all original. We got a couple replaced resistors there, but it's very, very clean inside. It's got some goop on there for some unknown reason. Hopefully you guys can see this. My phone's as bright as it gets too, so there's not much I can do there. Let me brighten this up. There you go. So yeah, so it's basically all original apart from a couple replaced resistors. Even the cap there is original. You got 2 cathode bypass caps replaced with old Spragues. And then this one looks like another old replacement or something. There's that. But here's where it gets sad. So first, there's the 2 holes for the 2 tube sockets that were installed at one point, then uninstalled. At least covered with the nice little metal plates, but yeah, so that was for whatever mod was done by Mr. Billy Zoom. And here's where it gets sad. So original choke, 606950, so 59. And then the power transformer doesn't have any markings on it, but I found photos of other original ones and they look the same. So I believe that's original. And then you got this. Was that 022871? So this is a Bassman output transformer. Yeah, 022871. And this was a 67, let's see, 60674 something. So this is a 67 Bassman output transformer. And yeah, so, and then here's what's crazy. Look at this. All original electrolytics in the doghouse. Who would do all of that work and not replace the damn electrolytics in the doghouse? That is psychotic to me. Just crazy. So anyways, it still has a 2-prong too. So that's the amp. And I was at first just so bummed because I was like, dude, I freaking just sold 2 amps for this thing. You didn't tell me any of this when I was asking about it. But the other side of me is like, well, it's not the end of the world per se. This amp, if it didn't have a replaced power or output transformer and didn't have all the holes in it, it would be a 5-figure amp. It'd be 10K. Billy Zoom that too, yeah. So yeah, these are up there. I mean, especially now in today's market, like one of these has not popped up for sale in a long time. And they were all in the, nearly 10K range. So nowadays I would say 10K, no problem. So this is obviously not that. But it's still the chassis, or the cabinet is in great condition overall, really rare pink Tolex. Center volume, very rare. The actual circuit itself looks pretty much entirely untouched. There's like 2 replaced wires in it, if I remember correctly. Yeah, these 2 wires right here are non-cloth. Replaced. Everything else looks perfect, other than, obviously the bypass caps, no big deal. So the circuit is intact. The speakers I don't really care about, because I would have replaced the P10Rs anyways with something sturdier because they wouldn't have survived, which is what happened. Same thing with the output transformer, because it's a 3x10. The impedance is a mismatch, 2 point something ohms and versus a 4 ohm output transformer. And so they were very common to below the output transformer, and they were undersized too. They were for a super, which is actually what Scott's amp is. His exact output transformer is what this would have had, his 61 super that I was just working on. So anyways, that's where I'm at. So the offer I made was before knowing all of this. And yeah, it's such a rare amp. It's a very cool amp. I think 3x10s are awesome. The Vibro King is one of the best sounding amps I've ever heard. When I played my friends, it was just such a good sounding amp. 3x10 is really unique. It's incredibly rare. The chassis holes suck, but it's in the back. It doesn't really affect anything. The circuit is intact. Speaker's gone. The output transformer's gone, but it's really common for those to be replaced with the Bassman. And also you can get a Sour Sounds replacement, which is really good. I've heard only good things about those. And anyways, yeah, so I'm pretty torn about it. So let's see the comments now. Past chassis holes are unacceptable to me. Well, any hole in the front is unacceptable to me. Absolutely. Anything on the faceplate, I passed on a TV front Bassman for that reason. That was a good deal. It had holes in the top of the chassis, but in the back is less of a concern for me. I know you want a gigabit output transformer. Originality is very important. Oh, it's very important to me as well. But these output transformers are known to die. They're known to be way under. The speakers in output transformer are just known to be the weak point of these amps. They get too hot and they fail. There's a lot of stuff about those. Those in the 5E7s as well, same issue. So it's not the end of the world from that perspective. As a collector, if I was, if I had 10K to drop on an amp, and it was, and I saw this, obviously I would pass. Absolutely not. But I don't have 10K. I would never be able to afford an original one. So I'm not really in that bracket. Not that the OT has to be the one it came with, just the right one, correct era. So I would probably, if I were to buy it, probably purchase the Sour Sounds replacement, which is the direct 1-to-1 replacement, and see how that gets along. And while keeping an eye out for an original, because there's no original obviously in the market. They're really rare. But I'm sure one would pop up eventually. That's not an impossible part to find. They came in all of these supers, as well as maybe one other model from the brown face era. They all use the same output transformer, so they're not unobtainium per se, but very rare, obviously. 4K, that's kind of what I'm thinking, James. It's not the price I offered, but I thought it was all original, was not told otherwise, but that's kind of where I'm thinking. I restored a Zoom modified, Billy Zoom modified Blackline Twain. Well, it's funny. I Googled his name when he said it, and it talked about him being like an amp builder, amp tech, musician kind of thing. But they are awesome, man. But that chassis is going to it's, honestly, it doesn't bother me. If it was on the front and I saw it, because it'd be ignorance is bliss, I'd get a backplate made that would fit it properly, for sure. But I don't know if it would bother me that much, but it also could just be me being dumb right now because I'm too close to it. But I'm trying to think, do I have amps with holes in it? No, actually, I don't think I do. Well, my AC30's got a bunch of issues, and it's, is what it is. That's my favorite amp of all time. You want an original vintage of for this? I love Brian, but no point in that amp without vintage OT to me. Well, it would be, like I said, it would be a stopgap until I could find one. If it could handle it, because I don't know. That was the thing that worried me when I first researched the amp before making the offer, was that people said they overheated. They were just way underpowered or underbuilt for the role of that amp, and they would fail. It was a common failure point. I wasn't aware of the common OT problems with these. Yeah. If you look it up, you'll see people talk about it. Same with the 5E7. Finding a triad market for a more beefy Fender model. Wasn't that basically exactly what this basement output transformer is? Just a more beefy version? Because it's the same thing as a 4 ohm output transformer. I guess it would be a super would be closer, right? 2 ohm. But tell me this: a bigger output transformer. What does that mean? Just more low end, more power, more wattage, more. Well, I don't know. What does it mean when you have that? When you've got the a bigger output transformer, what does that do? Yeah, P10Rs are weak. Yeah, isn't that what's in the Gibson? My GA40. I can't remember. What do you remember? What is it a P10R in it? Or P10Q? One of the two. I can't remember. But yeah, the P10Rs are you can never find one with original P10Rs that haven't been reconed because they blow them. It's like a 40 watt amp. Check text. I don't know if that's the trans you need for it or not. Let's look. No, different. It's a much smaller looking. Let me see if I can find one for you to show. It's a much smaller looking trans. It's exactly what's in your amp, Scott. Your output transformer. Let me grab it real quick and I'll show you. If I remember correctly, it is this. Let me turn down the ISO now. If I remember correctly, it is the same output transformer as this. So you can see it's much smaller. Versus a basement output transformer is quite a bit bigger. $45216. That's not the exact number that I saw with them, but it might be the same. Just like they had the same transformer, but it had a slightly different number. That could be the case, but yeah, it is. I believe it was on the Super as well. Yeah, no, not the power transformer, the output. This is prettier to look at. I might as well just leave this here for you guys while I'm talking. You can make an output transformer that's larger, more robust, that will handle the heat/power. Typically means more bass. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so the output transformer is being overworked in the 3x10 Bandmaster. So that's the weak point. It's way too small for it, which is part of the sound, presumably. Same with the 5E7. But yeah, they're just known to not last. So it's not crazy to have that not be original, because that's just what happened on those. When I looked it up, that seemed like a pretty common thing. So yeah, not crazy, and Sour Sounds makes a replacement. Um, but everything else being all original, the inside not being mucked with, which is really big for me, uh, makes it more appealing. The speakers, too, I don't really care about that much. Because it could sound great with that mismatch of speakers. Who knows? Mismatching the output transformer to a higher than spec speaker load. Does higher mean more or less ohms? So the 3 speakers together, I believe, came to like a 2.6 ohm load. And then the output transformer was a 4 ohm, if I remember correctly. And again, I would obviously, just like I did with the with my Vibrolux, which had that power or the output transformer issue, where I had a non-original one, and I found an original one. Same thing with the couple amps I've had, and for working on for people, I've just kept an eye out and been able to pick up the transformers that came up. 2.624 would be an ideal mismatch if there is such a thing. Got it. Okay. People talk about it as being maybe it's not a 4 ohm. Maybe he just needed a bigger one. Yeah, okay. It's the same size as the black Vibrolux Bandmaster Tremolux. The output transformer of the black Bandmaster ran at a solid 40 watts and burned them up to... Yeah, okay. So just the Bandmaster model in general, it sounds like, did not have what it needed. See you, Scott. Thanks for hanging out, dude. I hope you're stoked on the amp. Can't wait to fire it up. Should be sweet. So anyways, yeah, I'm just kind of... It's a cool opportunity. I'll never have another opportunity to get an amp like that. It's incredibly rare. Maybe the rarest Fender ever made. The only even more rare version of that would be the metal knob, if you guys have heard of that. The metal knob variant, which actually a guy local bought one. I've been talking to. I asked him about it because he is the guy that started the brown face Fender group on Facebook, and he knows all about all of these. And he was pretty weary of the amp when I showed him for obvious reasons, but he picked up the metal knob version, which is crazy rare. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's a very cool amplifier. I think it could be a really cool pairing because it's 40 watts to go with some of my other amps, and in kind of a pairing that plus the AC30 could be pretty sick. But I've never played it. I've never heard it before. This is all just me just guessing. So I'm asking the guy if I can borrow it, if I can hang on to it for a few days, and it needs work, so definitely needs a cap job. So maybe I can do the caps on it. He'll pay me for that, and then if I buy it, then we'll just count that as part of the total. And maybe that's some way to go about it too. And I can try it when it's healthy and really get a sense if I even like it or not. Maybe my theory is wrong and I just end up hating it and thinking it's just not for me. So that's kind of where I'm at, is thinking maybe I can try and just live with it a little bit. Like I have a Silvertone here. I've had it for a while now because he hasn't come and pick it up. He's moving and he lives in Mexico now. And so he kind of goes back and forth every once in a while. So, yeah, I would probably have it for at least a few weeks if you were to do that, so then I can get a better sense of it. But it's a lot of money for an amp, for sure. It is a lot. But I did sell 2 amps to fund it, so I do have the money available. First thing is the physical condition of the cabinet. It was obviously missing a back panel for a while, and I know you're going to gig it. Yeah, no, good point. I mean, I have to see it. That's the thing, is I saw it in person, but only in the front. It had it up against a wall, and I didn't play it. And I was like, oh my gosh, a center volume Bandmaster. That's crazy. If you ever want to sell it, let me know, and I'll check it out, and I'd be interested. And then he didn't really say anything, and I followed up sometime later because he was telling me he's liquidating a bunch of stuff. It's James. It's the same guy that had that JTM 45 that I sent you, and that what was the other amp he had? The Kryptonite or whatever. What was it called? I can't remember, but that other non-Marshall style thing head that we talked about. He's got all that stuff. He told me he had this Bandmaster since Clip. Yeah, that was close. He said he's had it since '93, so he's had it for a year longer than I've been alive. So I don't know. He just had this giant collection of stuff just kind of sitting around. So yeah, I think he's just had it forever. I don't know if you're still on, Scott, but yeah. Yeah, that's the Mojo Tone makes a replacement for it. It's so Tweed Super 5F4 use them as well as early 6G4. But here's the thing too so I'll just show you guys my reverb real quick. Like here's one. This is not a center volume. And it does have replaced speakers. And it has a basically all original inside with blue moldeds, which is, I mean, honestly a massive, massive bonus over all the Astrons. So this is all blue moldeds. It's got the original power transformer, original choke, and it too has a Fender Bassman. This is another 67 Bassman output transformer. So not a center volume, but the chassis is clean. And I just liked it today just to have save it. And he listed it for $4,000 and he just sent me an offer immediately for $3,600, which tells me, and it's been sitting too. I think it's been around for over a year, maybe. Let's see. Listed 6 years ago. Holy crap. So this has been sitting for 6 years at $4,000. So I saw that and I was like, and he just immediately had an auto send offer for $3,600. So what is the value of this? Well, how much value does a center volume add is the real question, right? Because this amp is better in almost every way other than center volume. So, but I also don't have it in person. And center volume definitely adds a lot because it just makes it a lot more rare. That's a fact. I think you should get it if it's sturdy and you get a price you're happy with. Make it as right as it can. Well, we'll see, James. I don't know. That's why I wanted your opinion, though, because I don't really know. And that's what I think, too, James. It's rare. It's super rare, but it's also a basket case, 100% basket case. So it's what is that? I don't know how much that adds. And I don't know, too. This is the other question. Maybe I can check. I don't know if there's a difference in the circuit. Where was I? I don't know if there's a difference in the circuit between the 5G7 and that slightly later one, which I guess would be considered a 6G7 at this point. Let's see, it doesn't have a picture of the it doesn't have a picture of the tube chart. But that's the thing I don't know. If it's the circuit's different, if it'll sound different. I'd have to compare them. And I don't even know if there is a circuit schematic available for 5G7 because it was only around for such a small period of time. Maybe Matt knows. Rarities and this data is practical value. Yeah, I agree. I think they're identical. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is what it could be completely the same. But I mean, if this guy's been listing for 6 years in much better condition with the same issues of missing speakers and missing the output transformer, but it's the same vintage basement output transformer, and it's the same circuit, and he just immediately offered it to me for 36, I guarantee he would take 33. You know what I mean? like it's, to me, I'm looking at this more as a bargaining chip than anything. But yeah, just kind of interesting. It's very clean though. This one looks really good. I don't even know if you can see my screen or not, but anyways, yeah, because it works right. Yeah, I love the look of the yellow Astrons. They're burned in my brain is immediate association with tweed and brownface era, and I just love it. And the blue will always be blackface to me, so I love that side of it. But yeah, in reality, they work. So if it's got all blue moldeds, then it probably needs no replacements for any of those caps. Whereas the Astrons, the other one full of Astrons, probably needs all of them replaced. So why not get the one on reverb then? 3 reasons. So one, it's not here, so I'd have to worry about shipping and something arriving and it arriving broken and damaged, and it's freaking massive and heavy and all of that fun stuff. That'd be reason number 1. Reason number 2 is, being able to actually physically see it and play it in person. I might connect with this amp, but not that one kind of thing, and I just don't know. And you can't really return a 60-pound amplifier that's shipped to you. At least I don't think you can, or it'd be quite a hassle to do so. And then the other side of it is just, I really like the history piece of it. Even if it is a butchered history, it's still a historical piece with the center volume. I just think it's really cool. But practically, no, it doesn't make sense to go with that one. Printing tooling for the yellow Astrons maybe I haven't paid. I'll tell you what, James, there's got to be a market. There's got to be. I mean, I would help push him for sure. I mean, this guy right now, Scott, his amp, I mean, we're really worried about what are we going to do about all these Astrons. We stuff these caps. We want to keep it looking all original. What do we do? So he bought some blue moldeds to replace the yellow Astrons, but this is a hard value to find, the 0.1 400 volt. Most of them have, or is it 0.1 200 volt? One of those two values is a lot harder to find than the other. And so we're a little worried about being able to get them all to replace with blue moldeds if needed. So I think it'd be sweet to have Astrons, a decent Astron replacement that looks right. Well, that's the thing, is this guy, he's a really, really nice guy. Really nice guy. But he sent me he sent me a PDF of the breakdown of the amplifier with all of the things wrong with it. Well, not all of the things, but mentioning some of the things wrong with it. It said the power transformer, but obviously that's the output transformer that's replaced. But then he sent, in the bottom of it, he had links to every reverb listing he could find of one of these amps. Every article talking about this amp was like, here's all the all the backing for it. And he basically was willing to accept my original offer, which was $5,000. And that was made under the assumption that it was basically all original because he didn't tell me otherwise. So, yeah, that's kind of that's what that was. And I didn't say anything more about price or anything. I just said I would like to see it in person and check it out. But definitely, I would not pay 5,000 for it. Absolutely not. 5,000 was if it was in really great condition, which it's obviously butchered. Which I should have known because all of his other amps are butchered, except for the Gretsch. The Gretsch was pristine, perfect, oddly enough. But I guess the Silvertone was in good condition too overall. But the Vox was butchered. That JTM 45 was butchered. But the Vox turned out to be my favorite amp, so that's the other thing. But he definitely thinks it's worth way more. He was telling me that he thinks it would sell for 6K plus. What did he say? He said if I listed on Reverb for 6,000 to 6,500, it would sell quickly. 5K is a great deal, is basically what he said. So he definitely thinks it's worth a lot more than it actually is. But would it sell on Reverb at 6K? Maybe. I don't know. It's a very specific buyer for that sort of thing. I would like to think not, but the market's crazy. The JD Versal makes me sure. Yeah, that thing was really rough, and he really wanted me to buy it too. He kept saying he wanted me to buy it, but he didn't give me a final price. But he remember he was sending me links of other ones for 10K plus, and he's like, look, this is 10,000. Look, this is that, and so, but he did list it on Craigslist. I tell you that for $15,000 with the cab. The cab is really cool though. The cab was one of those really rare 6x10s or whatever it was, something really goofy. Yeah, see, was, I, I don't know if it was different or not. I think I'd have to just look at it, the two, since they're both all original basically, and compare. Yeah, that's the article that I've looked at a lot. That talks a lot about the amp. Let's see. Does that article? I can't remember if it talks about the issue with the output transformer. Looks like that guy had a replacement output transformer as well in his. Interesting. It's working now. Sorry about that. The mic looked like it just turned itself off. Thanks for telling me. Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. Here's another one that he sent me over. I don't know if you can see all this stuff, but let's see. This one had reconed speakers, power transformer, choke original output transformer replaced. And this one was sold or listed for $9,000. This was 4 years ago. So somewhere between $7,500 to $10,000 with these various listings. And he sent me these other articles, including the one that you showed. So anyways, yeah, there's this one. So this one was made, they say, from late 59 to May of 1960. So not a year. They weren't made very long at all. I'm talking center volume, Matt, specifically. Yeah, like I said, like this one was listed 9 years ago for $9,000. 9 years ago for $9,000. So, anyways, who knows the value? Because no, center volume has not popped up for sale, so I have no idea. I just showed the article. It just said in the article from the end of 59 to what did I say, May of 1960. That's all they did for the center volume Bandmaster, at least according to Vintage Guitar. Yeah, I mean, purely for gigging, it does. Just freaking buy whatever. I mean, also I don't want to buy without trying this one, regardless, just to see if I even like it at all. I just want a brown face to. I wanted a tweed to gig, which I've said a million times before, but I just can't afford one. Not one that I would want. That is interesting to me. So this is a very interesting amp, a 3x10. It's just super interesting. Obviously, a tweed Bandmaster is, well over 10K now at this point. They're more than basements half the time when I see them. So, but yeah, no, a non-center volume, totally an option. It's just, again, it's being able to have in person. It's a known quantity, or will be a known quantity, hopefully, to where I can, I can directly see how it sounds, hear it next to my other amps, and see if it's something I'm interested in or not. But again, it's not a. The other one is a replaced basement transformer too, so I guess that would be more or less the same. But so Vibroverb, that's the 15. It's the same amp, but with a 15-inch speaker. Is that right? Everything else is the same. There's a Vibrasonic center volume for $4,300. It's been listed for a year, but it's local pickup only. So what's the difference between a Vibroverb and a Vibrasonic? This one says all original, minus the cap swaps. No photos of the. It's got JBL, original 15-inch JBL. Can't see the transformers in any of the photos. Cap swap done. That's a cool amp, but local pickup only. Brown Vibro Verb. Vibro Verbs were 2x10. Okay. So what's the difference between a Vibro Verb, a Vibro Lux, and a Super? Because a Super was a 2x10. This amp right here. 6G4. So is a Vibro Verb a 40 watt like the 5G7, but when a 2x10? Oh, reverb. Oh, was it the first amp with a reverb then? That's why it's super rare. Brown with reverb. Very cool. I guess that makes sense why they'd be super rare. Vibro Verb. Is it a different reverb circuit than the Blackface era? Interesting. Is it like the Vibro King where it's literally a 6G what is it, 6G15? What is the spring tank code built in like a Vibro King? I don't care like, you know, I understand why that would be super valuable and rare having the reverb built in, but that wouldn't be like a super important thing to me. I would never be able to afford one anyways. Are there any on reverb right now? Vibro Verb. Just a reissue. I guess they did them in Blackface era too. Vibrosonic 63. Oh yeah, God, 20 grand. 20 grand for a Vibro Verb. That's lovely. Jeez. $20 grand for a non-center volume. Listed 2 years ago. 0 offers. Yeah. Quite a rare amp, evidently. Not very powerful. Vibrosonic is killer, by the way. I was just hating on 15-inch speakers. I mean, it seems like a way better deal if I could figure out a way to ship it. That seems like a way better move. But I don't know. I've never played a 15-inch I've never played a JBL 15, to be fair, but it looks really clean. And it is a center volume. $6G13. It's a cool amp. Serial number 36. Early example. Local pickup only. Well, Rockin' Robin Guitars and Music in Houston. So what's the difference between this and a Pro? Do you know? Matt, what's the difference between a Vibrosonic and a Pro? Because they would both be 40 watts, wouldn't they? Yeah, they're both 40 watts with a 1x15. They look identical too. Presence control? Yeah, they look the same. Well, so let's look it up. So it's just exactly a Pro, but with a JBL and a huge output transformer out of a Showman. They're rare due to the high price when new. That's interesting. And I can see why that is rare as hell. Nobody else could tell either, so they bought the Pro. So it's got, what did it say? It had a bigger output transformer. So is it just have more headroom? Maybe. There's not a lot of info about it. So it says it's a 50 watt, so it's got more power than. But I guess okay, so they made a Vibrasonic later in the 70s too. Weird. I don't know. These models are weird. It's hard to follow. At the time of its introduction, the Vibrasonic displaced the Twin as the company's new top-of-the-line flagship model. Wow. This was short-lived as the new high-powered 6G8 Blonde Twin appeared in mid-60. Vibrasonic is one of 7 models. Shared nearly identical circuits with 2 6L6s. The models are differentiated only by the cabinet speaker configuration, transformers, and rectifiers. Where was I in that? Later 3-tube 6G13A models were used in tremolo. The 1x15 Vibrasonic, like the Concert, featured a larger interleaved output transformer designed to minimize distortion and maximize clean headroom in the output stage. Unlike the Concert, however, the Vibrasonic was the first production Fender to use a speaker made by JBL. Fascinating. I played one a long time ago and was blown away. It's as memorable as the high-powered Twin. Wow, that's high praise. What do you think? You think I should go for that one then, Matt? See if I can get the store to ship it. But you don't like the JBL, you like the P15N. I don't know if I necessarily want an amp that's just super, has tons and tons of clean headroom though. Sounds like it's got a lot more clean headroom than the Super or the Bandmaster. I need something to not be crazy clean while the AC30 is just full on overdriven. no, buy what you want. I don't know what I want, Matt. I wanted the Bandmaster, but I was assuming it was in solid condition. I think what I'll do is I'll try and borrow it from the guy and see if I like it or not. Which will be tough because the speakers could be total garbage because it's just got a mismatch of speakers and maybe be a terrible pairing. And the amp might be great, just needs speakers, but can't really test a 2 ohm 2 ohm load on anything. If you're gonna buy that Bandmaster, we're gonna have to fix that damn chassis. How would you fix that? There's nothing you could do. It's jacked. It's crazy that somebody would install 2 new tube sockets and 9 or 7 other holes in the back plate. It's just crazy to me. But I don't know. Anyways, what about flipping a few more amps, saving up another year? You and I go on the road on this tweet safari. What tweet are you after? Or you just want to join? You just want to solder and steel lug. Oh, that's interesting. Are you after a tweed, James? Or are you just wanting to help me spend my money? Oh, yeah, you do need a Vox. You do need a Vox for sure. By the way, this is a slight aside, but I'm getting a head cab made for my AC10 to give it to be able to run it with the Super Twins 2x12 cab. It's I found a guy in the UK to make it. Nobody in the US will make a cab. It's insane to me. Nobody in the US makes a vintage accurate AC JMI spec cab. And I took my Super Twin head cab AC30 and the AC10 to V Boutique in here in Southern California. They make cabs for a lot of people, including I believe 2 Rock. And because they said they could do it and they just wanted to see the cab in person, and I was so underwhelmed with how they handled it, and just they seemed totally and woefully incapable of doing this job. And really I was just so turned off by their competence level, the way it came across, that I just decided to not move forward with them and move forward with the guy in the UK, even though it's way more expensive to have to ship it. I contacted so many people, Matt. Nobody would do it. I couldn't find anybody. The guy that used to do it was Mather, but he died, and then there's nobody that took up the mantle. You still need your Dream AC30. You do, James. I keep an eye out all the time for you to find one, a copper top with the top boost built in. One day we'll find it. There's a Tremolux. Here's the other thing too. Is there's a Tremolux that I've been wanting a Tremolux for a while. That's been on frickin' Facebook Marketplace. I talked to the guy, and he said he would sell it for $4,500. He said he would sell it for $4,500, and I told him I will pay you the average sold price on Reverb of the past 6 months. I will just match whatever the average is, and you get more money than you would on Reverb because there's no seller fees, and I'll pay that cash in person. And I think that came out to like $3,200 or something like that was the average sold price of a Tremolux. And he said no. He said my lowest is $4,500, and he's got it on Reverb, and he's been slowly dropping it on Reverb, and now I think he's got it for like $4,900 or something on Reverb right now, or $4,600 on Reverb right now. And yeah, he won't budge, but that's another option maybe. Pete Mather was a friend. I didn't know that. Yeah, I have a buddy that has one of his cabs, and it's great. He was the guy that would do any of those custom projects. Those kind of one-off things. Nobody else wanted to touch it. And the only person that was even willing to consider it was V Boutique, and that was with a 3 cab order because it was me and then another guy wanted 2. I found. so I had a little bit more leverage. And I was just so underwhelmed by my interaction with him. I just went, wow, I wasted a lot of time driving all the way to Anaheim with all this gear. I'll tell you what, Matt, that 70 Super, when I played it for the owner when he came over and picked it up, man, that thing sounds so good. I was like, okay, I get it. Super sound great. They sound great. They're a little boring. They're super heavy. They're stupid loud. But no, there's a reason why they work. But again, they're a dime a dozen. Not that interesting. They're really heavy. They're really loud, and just want to be a good fit for what I'm after right now. But I will own one eventually. They're so cheap, dude. They're everywhere. I mean, there's a freaking drip edge for like $1,200. It was sitting for like a month. But I don't know. I just don't really have a ton of interest in it right now. 1,200 might be an exaggeration. I think it was 1,400, but still. I know, James, you were wanting to sell yours. We talked about it a while back. They're just so common. There's probably 3 on Craigslist right now in my local area that they're just super available. So it's just less interesting to me because I can pick one up anytime versus something more rare. The 70s one I didn't really get going until 6 on the volume, which was just super loud. It sounded incredible on 6, but at least with single coils, it was didn't have a ton. Beautiful clean. I mean, the clean tone was gorgeous, but yeah. Like I said, I'll own one eventually, but they're too big and heavy, and it had wheels on it too, and they were like so you couldn't roll it; it would just tip over. I don't know if it was factory wheels or not, but they were. It was really unstable. I know somebody that got a crazy clean drip edge with factory JBLs. Super. That's a cool amp. Breaks up at 3.5. That's crazy early. With what and you said you played strats? That's crazy. My Vibrolux doesn't break up that early at all. Yeah, it's got the little JBL badge on the bottom of the cab. It's really cool. I haven't heard it. He doesn't live here, but he got it for cheap too. I think he paid $1,400 for it or something. Yeah, exactly. The orange. Yeah, he got a steal on it. He got lucky. Hmm. Yeah, some hot mallards. You know those ducks. I mean, the other, I say all this stuff about the Super, but I am kind of semi interested in a brown face concert. I do think those are cool. I've never played one before, but I kind of like the idea of them. Hot dogs might sound fun. A lot of quack. There you go. I just like the idea of the brown face because they're supposed to grind up more, than the blackface era and be a bit more mid heavy, a bit more, you know, bit more weighted, which I think would be a good complement for the Vox. Because I've got the scoop stuff covered with the Vibrolux. Like, well, it's not even that scooped. It's pretty mid-heavy, actually, I'd say. But it's got that, you know, nice top-end Fender thing going that I think it's really covered with that amp. I don't really feel like I need anything more in that vein. It's more just own a super to own a super, to be honest. Last time I played the gig with the Vibrolux and the AC30 together, I had it up at about 4.5, and it was great. On the super, it'd probably be up at 3 to get, you know, same, just not quite enough. I'm really pleased with how this amp came out. The stuffing of the caps, I think, looks really good. I'm really happy with it. We did unfortunately give a little bit of tear off on the cardboard on a couple places, but there's really no avoiding that, I don't think. This one survived better, but you know, you got something from 1960s. It's 1961, excuse me. It's crazy. I think the brown Concert is cleaner than Super. Really? That's interesting. The brown twin is super stupid clean. Chris Marin has a brown twin. He's local here. I didn't even know they existed. I'd never seen one before. Well, I'm not interested if it's cleaner than the Super Reverb. I just have always heard an associated brown face with, like, you know, I played a 6G2, the Deluxe, before, and yeah, that thing was like no clean headroom. Was pretty drivey. It sounded really good. It's a good sounding amp. So that's kind of what I'm curious to hear this, and I've got the Bassman too, the 61 Bassman. So it'll be interesting to hear how this sounds, probably through the Vibrolux cab, to see if it kind of lives up. I guess this should give me a really good picture of what the Bandmaster should sound like. Pretty close, right? Once this is all good to go. All right, boys. I think I'm about ready for bed now. Picked up a Brown Twins are rare too. 6G3s are crunchy. I owned one a year or so ago. Yeah, sorry. I said 6G2. I meant 6G2 is the Princeton, right? 6G3 is the Deluxe. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Brown Twins. They got to be rare. I'd never seen one before. Anyways, I was saying, yeah, I got my wife a Sig M18. We went to checked out a few at the gun shop, and that was her favorite of the bunch. So we just got it in finally after 10-day wait. So we're gonna go to the range tomorrow and have her try it out. So looking forward to that. But I'm gonna call it a night. But thanks for hanging out. It's great chatting with you, Matt and James, and everyone else that's been hanging around. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for ringing in my 30th birthday with me. We got 3 minutes left. Critical. Cool. Well, we'll finish this up. I'll do an actual video, like I said before, on the rest of it. So I'll do the dog, this resistor, the free prong in an actual, and continue on this series. But I thought I'd do a live just for the fun of it. I haven't done one in a while. So yeah, Matt, we got a lot in common. So we need to connect in person. You let me know. Text me sometime. We'll figure it out. I got some flexibility. So thank you. Appreciate it. If you're still around, James, have a good night. Talk to you later. And thanks, everyone. Catch you in the next one.